I want to ride this cow. I mean, obviously I'm already sitting on the cow, but if I press the forward button, I don't go anywhere. He actually just started walking in this direction. But using a little command block trickery, we can change that. If I activate this command block and then get back on the cow, then all of a sudden, we can actually ride this thing. He'll go wherever I want him to go, just like that. One simple command. Well, it's actually not that simple. It's kind of long to read. Hold on, let me make this easier for you. There we go, now you can actually read it properly. So what this is doing is it's looking for every player with execute as at A, using a big predicate thing to test whether or not I'm pressing the forward button. It rotates in the direction I'm facing, and then it makes sure it only uses my left and right rotation and not my up and down rotation. That's what this little squiggly line and 0 means. Then we're looking at what I'm sitting on, and then we're going to the location of the thing I'm sitting on, and then we teleport forward by half a block. Did you get all of that? Probably not, but it doesn't really matter because it works. Kind of. You see, even though this seems to work pretty well, it has a couple of big problems. Obviously, I can't press the left and right keys to move left and right, but also I can just walk through walls when I'm riding a mob, which is obviously pretty hilarious, but not ideal. An even bigger problem is the fact that if we have this mob up on an elevated surface and then we start riding it, you're gonna notice that the cow actually flies because we're constantly teleporting it every single tick, so it doesn't even have a chance to start falling to the ground until we stop moving. So yeah, it's gonna take more than one command block to make this mob properly rideable, but I think we can pull it off. And hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have a mod that lets us ride this cow and any mob in the game. By the way, if you do just wanna play around with this one command and ride random mobs, just spawn something and do /ride at s mount at n, type equals, and then whatever kind of mob it is, like this allay. Whee! All right, let's get to making a more advanced version of this. Now the teleport command is pretty convenient to use because you can use these little upward arrow thingies called carrots to actually teleport you in the direction you're facing. So if I place down this armor stand, it's looking that way. So if I press the button, it teleports 4 blocks in that direction. And then if I place one that's facing towards me, then it will teleport towards me by 4 blocks. But obviously the teleport command does not care about a wall in the way, so it just teleports right through. However, if we instead set the armor stand's motion like this, well, it's gonna launch towards the wall and then fall straight down. But unfortunately, if I want to try to use one of those carrot arrow things when using this command to set the armor stand's motion, it just won't let me. See, it turns red here. It literally doesn't work. So to figure out which way I'm facing when I'm sitting on a mob and then set its motion, we're going to have to do something a little more complicated that might involve math. Don't worry, the math isn't gonna be that bad. We're gonna trick the game to doing as much math for us as possible. Now the motion tag kind of works like the teleport command, where it has an X, a Y, and a Z wrapped in these square brackets. So if I set the first value to 1, it's gonna launch this thing with a power of 1 in the X direction. And if I set it to -1 instead, it's gonna launch it the other way. If the middle value is set to 1, that's gonna be straight up. And then if the last value is set to 1, then that's gonna be in the Z direction. Now, though we can't use those carrots with the data motion command, what we can do is summon an entity in the direction that we're facing, like this. And if we come up here to this platform at the center of the world and use this command, which is at 0, 0, 0, it's gonna remember which way we were facing and summon the armor stand in the direction we were facing relative to the center of the world. So if I look this way, instead of summoning the armor stand in front of me, it's gonna summon the armor stand in the direction I was facing from the center of the world. And if we go ahead and look at the position data of this armor stand, you'll see it's 3 numbers inside of square brackets. And if we transfer the position data of this armor stand to the motion data of this cow, look at that. It moves in the direction that we were facing when we summoned this armor stand. So we've effectively hacked our way into being able to use these carrots with the data motion command. Now let's go put this into command block form. Now the first command here is pretty simple. It's just gonna take our rotation and check whether or not the vehicle we're sitting on is named Mountable, and then set the vehicle's rotation to our rotation. So if we have a cow here named Mountable and we ride it, then it's going to look whichever way we are looking. Beautiful. Now our second command is a little longer, but it's really not that complicated. So it's gonna take our rotation like the last command, then it's gonna check whether or not we're pressing the forward button with a big long predicate, just like that command block over there. Then it's gonna check if we're on a vehicle that's named Mountable, again, like that command block. Then it's going to disable our up and down rotation and only care about our left and right rotation, like we did with that command block as well, using this squiggly line and this 0. Then we're gonna go to the position 0, 0, 0, like when we were summoning those armor stand, and instead of summoning an armor stand, we're just gonna summon a marker, which is just an invisible entity that doesn't do anything, 0.5 blocks in the direction we're facing from that location, and that marker is gonna have a tag called Mount Motion. The third command block is gonna take the X position of that Mount Motion marker at the center of the world and put it on the X motion of whatever you're riding, and the fourth command block is gonna do the same thing with the Z coordinate. For now, we're not gonna care about the Y coordinate, because when I'm riding a cow, I don't really want it to go in the direction I'm facing when I'm looking up or down. I just want it to go in the horizontal direction I'm facing, although we're probably gonna add that back later when we're trying to ride flying mobs like Alays. And the fifth command block is just a kill command to kill the marker at the center of the world, so it's not spawning a bunch of them and creating a bunch of lag. And that should actually be enough for us to just ride these cows without phasing into walls. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. My cow is all the way over here. We'll rename it Mountable, ride at S, mount at N, type equals cow, and I forgot to enable the machine. Okay, 1 second. Not quite sure how I forgot that. Okay, let's run that command again, and presto, we are on our way. And let's see if we're gonna phase right through this wall. We do not! Fantastic. This is so much more realistic to riding something like a horse or a pig, although we're having a new problem here where I can't actually climb up a single block, which you should be able to do with a horse or a pig, but there is a way we can fix that as well. Using the attribute command, you can set all sorts of different attributes for players and entities, like the speed they walk and how strong their jump is, and one of those things you can change is, let's see if I can find it here, the step. So if we set our step height to 1, then all of a sudden we can walk up single blocks just like they were stairs. And we can set it to something more ridiculous like 6 blocks and we can just walk over walls like that, which is a little more ridiculous and not relevant to what we're doing here today, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. Actually, let's just see, like, what if we set it to like 20 blocks? Hold on 1 second. All right, apparently this pillar is more than 20 blocks, so if we set it to 30 blocks? No, still too high. What about 40 blocks? No, is there a limit? Like, can you not set the step height too high? Does the game just break? What about just like 16 blocks? Can I at least do that? Nope, that doesn't work either. Okay, I did some testing and it looks like the maximum height is 10 blocks that you can step up, which is hilarious. But again, not the point of what we're doing today, so let's get back to the matter at hand. Now we have this command block that's gonna take our vehicle and set its step height to 1, and this command block that's gonna reset it back to whatever it was before whenever we're not riding it. This one has to be before this one, so that way it doesn't set it to 1 and then immediately reset it. It has to reset it first if we're not riding it, and then set it if we are riding it. So let me find my cow again. I've got a couple walking around here, but we'll just pick this one. So if we get on top of this cow, we should be able to now ride up these blocks like this. Beautiful. Now we do have one more problem to solve that's very related, and it's that right there. See how the cow can still walk even when I'm not pressing anything? So he's just like walking sideways. Now we can set the cow's movement speed to 0 when I'm riding it, just like we set its step height to 1, and that's not actually going to affect whether or not it's getting launched with our motion commands. Can you stop walking around like that? Okay, we're gonna fix you. Hold on 1 second. So we're just gonna copy these command blocks and create the exact same setup, but change this to movement speed instead of step height. Movement speed, reset, movement speed, base set 0. So now if we're riding the cow, it should no longer be able to walk, right? We'll have to sit here for a second and see if anything happens. Although I guess if it worked, nothing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna have to sit here for a minute, see if nothing happens, and if nothing happens, assume it worked. Either that or the cow was just really bored and decided not to walk. I'm gonna assume that it worked, and we can still walk forward. Amazing. This is great. I've got my own little cow mount, and it's not just cows. I don't know I focused on cows so much in this video, but there's other things that we can ride too. I should be able to ride a creeper. Place this down, name it Mountable. If I ride this thing, name equals Mountable. Yeah, look at that. I've got my own little creeper mount now. I don't know if anyone would actually want a mod for riding creepers, but there you go. Just takes a couple of command blocks. This is hilarious. This also means I could summon a warden if I rename this guy to Mountable and then I ride him. Yep, here we go. You better not mess with me. You guys better watch out. I'm gonna mess this creeper up. Get him. Can't really like make him attack, but he should eventually just attack him, I think. Yes! Oh yeah, you're in trouble now. You are in so much trouble. He growled, then he just gave up. There we go. I'm unstoppable. I mean, obviously not if I was in survival mode, then I'd probably pretty quickly get taken out by this guy. Oh yeah. Cut to the next clip. I stopped recording for a minute, but he just killed my cow. I never should have made you. Now, the only thing this contraption is missing to make it fully survival friendly is an ability to get on the mob in the first place without using the /ride command, and that's where this last command block comes in. It's a bit long and complicated and has one of those big predicate things, kind of like what we were using to test if we were pressing the forward button, but it's not that complicated. So first of all, we're detecting if we're pressing the jump button, but only if we're not on the ground. So this is on ground, 0. And we're detecting whether or not we've been falling for a minimum of 0.01 blocks. So if I am jumping and holding the jump button while going up, it doesn't work. It has to be while I'm going down. And this is pretty much just a big, stupid, fancy way of detecting me doing a double jump. And that's just gonna make us ride any mob named Mountable within less than 3 blocks. So if we spawn a chicken real quick and name it Mountable, then we should be able to double jump and start riding it, just like that. Hey, doesn't that make me a... And then this is gonna be the spot where I cut to a clip of Jack Black saying chicken jockey. Now, what I love about using commands to program mods is the fact that it's kind of vanilla friendly and you can just turn them into a data pack that anyone can install whether or not they're using a modded version of Minecraft. We can turn all of this into a data pack by typing /datapack create mob mounter and give it some sort of description like a mod that lets you mount any mob. And then when we run that, it's gonna create an empty data pack in our world folder, which we can go modify. So here we are within the data packs folder of our world folder, and we have our mob mounter data pack we just created. We can pop that open, go into the data folder, and we're gonna create a folder called Minecraft. In the Minecraft folder, we're gonna create 2 folders, one called function and one called tags. Now first, we're gonna go into the function folder. We have to create our function, which is pretty much just a list of commands that we want to run every single tick. So create a text file and call it tick.mc function and open that up, and we're just gonna paste in every single one of our commands that we have in our command blocks in order. All right, go ahead and save that. And now we have to go back over to that tags folder we created. And in here, we have to create another function folder and create a file called tick.json. And pretty much what this is it just tells the game what functions we should be running every tick. So you have to create curly brackets, type values in quotes, colon, square brackets, and this is gonna be our list of functions. We're just gonna use Minecraft tick, which is the MC function file we just created. Go ahead and save that, and now if we go back into the game and just type /reload, we should be able to ride any mob with the machine powered off. There we go. We just created an entire mod using just 10 commands. Can you believe that? All right, now let's see how many things I can ride on that just look absolutely ridiculous. All right, first of all, let's get on a sniffer. Oh yeah, I've always wanted to ride it. Why is he sniffing so fast? What are you doing? He's just sniffing while I'm riding him. Okay, Copper Golem, what's this gonna be like? Oh yeah, that is a satisfying sound. Look at his little running animation and how he's still twirling his head looking for items to pick up. He is absolutely gunning it. His running animation looks incredible this fast. All right, we're done with that. Whoa, whoops. All right, a creaking, what'll that be like? Oh, he won't let me ride him. I just fall off. Can't ride a creaking, I guess. All right, sure, Mojang. But surely I can ride a squid, even though I can't ride a creaking, right? Of course I can. Why wouldn't I be able to? This just makes total sense. Turtles are famous for going slow, but now they're famous for going. The turtle's animation was not meant for going anywhere near these speeds. All right, I feel like this is animal abuse. I gotta stop with that one and go to this one, which totally can support my weight. Woo! This feels awful. Oh no, oh no! How about one of these guys? I feel like a Roomba this low to the ground, zooming around. But now that we're in the world of data packs instead of command blocks, we can do some slightly more advanced stuff. For example, I've made it so instead of renaming the mob Mountable to ride it, I can just right click it with a saddle and I'm able to ride it wherever I want. And then when I hop off, it just gives me the saddle right back. I'm not gonna spend too much time explaining how all the complicated data pack stuff works, but if you're curious, I will put it on screen and you can read it if you'd like. Now, the next thing I wanna do is make it so that when we ride a flying flying mob like a parrot, we're actually able to go up and down. Right now, it's just designed to go left and right, but I can't go up and down of my own volition. It's just dependent on whether or not the parrot decides it wants to fly or not. So to do this, we're gonna use something called an entity tag to figure out what kind of mob we're riding. Here, I made a list of all of the mobs that can fly, including the Ender Dragon. I don't know if that's gonna work, but we put it here in case it actually does. And the only thing that's gonna be different about the logic for flying mobs is the fact that it's going to have the X and Y and Z instead of just the X and Z motion. All right, so I've made those changes and now we are able to fly up and fly down if we're riding flyable mobs. Let's see if I can swap mobs mid-air and jump on this bat. Hold on, you ready for this? This is gonna be awesome. No, it's too far away. All right, but I do want to try riding the bat. Get over here. Get just a little lower, buddy. Come on, you got this. No, almost. He's right there. Come on. Am I missing? Nope, I got it. There we go. Check that out. Now I'm riding a friggin' bat. Although I am noticing that it's still moving around even when I'm staying still, and that makes sense because the movement speed of flying mobs doesn't actually affect whether or not it's able to fly. So we're gonna have to figure out something else to stop it from flying around when I'm sitting on it. And I think something like this, where we're setting the bat's motion to 0, 0, 0 every single tick should work, right? Kind of, almost, not quite, no, it's still able to move just a little bit. It is slower though. And he's kind of like spazzing out whenever he's trying to turn. Well, a pretty common way of permanently freezing an entity is completely disabling its AI, but I'm pretty sure if I try to ride a bat with no AI, yeah, it's not actually able to move even if I'm pressing forward. Okay, I've spent a bit of time trying to solve the jittery bat problem, and I just can't. So if you're on a flying mob, then whenever you're not moving, it's gonna kind of do its own thing. But for most mobs, that isn't really a huge deal, except for the bat. That guy moves like crazy. Now let me go test the most important flying mob to see if it works. So I can't just right click it to ride it because the Ender Dragon is one of the mobs in the game that you can't equip items on no matter what. So I'm gonna have to use the ride command instead. All right, now let's see if I'm actually able to ride this thing. If I try to move, oh, it doesn't work. All right, I'll have to do something else if I want that to work eventually. Wait, maybe it's kind of working? No, it's definitely not working. Never mind, it's just doing whatever it wants. All right, well, it was worth a shot. But I'll bet you I can summon the Wither. Oh, geez, okay, it's immediately attacking stuff. Let's see if this works. Can I not control the Wither? No, I can kind of control it. I'm slightly controlling it, but it's resisting me pretty heavily when it sees another mob. So yeah, I can fly around on my own like this, but then the moment we get near that turtle, it's just gonna decide, nope, I'm killing that turtle. Yep, and then I can't fly away anymore. All right, we'll call that a half victory. Okay, so I've just looked back at my list of quote unquote flying mobs, and you guys probably noticed earlier, but I put a bunch of fish in here, which I definitely didn't mean to do. But what that means is if I summon something like a pufferfish and try to ride it, I can actually start flying. So, yeah, let me just remove these animals from the list. Oh, how sad. But that does make me realize that for certain mobs, like the axolotl, it makes sense for me to only be able to control the left and right when I'm on ground, but then when I get in water, I should be able to move up and down as well, right? So I need to add new code for the water mobs that changes how they work depending on whether or not they're actually in the water. All right, so now if I'm riding an axolotl, it should have ground controls if I'm on the ground, but then it should have air controls if I'm in the water. And then the moment I exit the water, back to ground controls, can't go up anymore. Works pretty seamlessly if you ask me. I didn't even have to write that much new code. It's literally just 2 more commands I added to the whole thing. Now this is feeling mostly feature complete, but there's one more thing I need to add to this mod, and that's the fact that if I hit the left or right arrow keys, I still can't do anything, or the backward key for that matter. Currently the only thing I can do is go forward, and sometimes I don't want to go forward, sometimes I want to go backwards. So to make this work, before we get to all of the commands that actually move the mob, we need a bunch of commands that figure out which way I'm supposed to be moving based on the buttons we're pressing, which means that I'm gonna need to have one of those like, am I pressing forward, am I pressing backward, am I pressing forward and left commands for every single direction I could possibly be moving in, which is fortunately just forward, left, right, backwards, forward, left, forward, right, backward left, and backward right. And to make it a little more realistic to the other mobs in the game that you can ride, we're gonna make it so when you move backwards, you move a little slower than you do when you move forward. And this is what the code for that looks like. It's a little longer than I thought it would be, but again, it's not too complicated. We've got these big long predicate thingies, which are just a really fancy way of checking if I'm pressing the forward button, but not pressing the back, left, or right buttons. So 1 is I'm pressing it and 0 is I'm not pressing it. We're just checking that for every single possible combination of ways you could be pressing those keys and then rotating in the direction that I'm supposed to be moving. So -90 is to the left, 90 is to the right, 180 is behind me, -45 is forward and left, 45 is forward and right, -135 is backward and left, 135 is backward and right. And I have copied the code and made a slow version of it and a fast version of it. So if we're moving forward in any way, we use the fast one, and if we're moving backward in any way, we're using the slow one. Now let's see if that actually all worked. I can move to the left, move to the right, back to the right, back to the left, and backwards, although I'm moving pretty quickly backwards. I'm not supposed to be moving this fast. It seems like it may be just moving at regular speed when I go backwards. Let me go check that and see what's broken. Okay, it looks like I literally just forgot to save the changes that I made. So now when I move forward, it's fast, and when I move backwards, it's slow. So we've done it. We can ride any mob in the game that we want for the most part. There are some weird cases where you can't actually ride a villager with the saddle because every time you try to right-click it, it just shakes its head. But if you do the ride command, it will work. Just like any of the other mobs, oh no, it actually doesn't work. Okay, I was really confident that it would just work, but I guess I changed something? Oh right, now it actually only counts as riding a mob if you right-click it with the saddle in the first place. So maybe the Ender Dragon actually will work if we just fix that. Hold on. Okay, so I didn't know what else to do, so I added in like a cheat command that lets you ride mobs that don't normally let you right-click them, like the villager. So now let's go and see if this works for the Ender Dragon. All right, here we go, moment of truth. Let's see if we can ride the Ender Dragon, and oh my god, we actually can. It looks in the opposite direction that we're facing, and it moves really, really slow, but it does work crazy enough. Okay, I think I'm gonna code in something to fix this and make it move a little faster, but wow, that is awesome. All right, so I flipped the dragon back around and gave it its own special code that just makes it move faster than other mobs, and there we have it, a controllable Ender Dragon. You can't actually do this in survival mode since you can't put a saddle on a dragon in survival mode, it seems, but you probably wouldn't want to do that anyways, because if I swap over to survival mode, yeah, it just kills me. But it was fun while it lasted. Now I just added in a way to stop hostile mobs from attacking you when you're riding them by creating a team that they join, because mobs that are on the same team won't attack players. So you can just have a pillager buddy that torments your friends but leaves you alone. But tragically, I don't think that's gonna help our case with the Ender Dragon. I don't think the same thing applies. Let's try it. All right, we're riding the dragon and we're controlling it, and if I swap over to survival, yeah, still taking a ton of damage. But crazy enough, this does actually stop the wither from attacking you, so you know, there's an option. Say goodbye, frog on sniffer. I'll leave a download to this mod in the description below if you'd like to play with it yourself or read the code to figure out how it works and use it to create some of your own creations, as well as all of the commands I used throughout the video. But yeah, let me know if there are any other features you think I should add to this mod, or if there are any other mods you think I should make. And also, I didn't think about the fact that Vexes can literally fly through walls. We are literally right back where we started.